Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to go over an update of the Caspa ecosystem because what I feel like they're building there is actually pretty revolutionary, and so I wanted to go get a general update of the ecosystem to see kind of how they're doing on the things that they're building, as well as they actually recently released a really interesting update that I think we all should be aware of. So let's go on ahead and dive right in. Now for anyone who isn't familiar, I want to go over the differences between a blockchain and a BlockDAG. That way we understand the differences between like Bitcoin and Kaspa. So Bitcoin is a blockchain, and as you can see, everything moves along in a sequential order, where a BlockDAG actually is short for a directed acyclic graph. Now what that means is as you can tell from the graph, it doesn't actually move forward in a linear fashion, but it almost moves forward in like a directed web type of situation. So you can see that it moves in one kind of specific direction, but it's not linear like a blockchain would be. And why this is important is because what a DAG essentially allows is for multiple blocks to be mined simultaneously without having the orphaned block issue that some of you may be aware of if you're super familiar with how like the inner workings of blockchains. So this could be a relatively revolutionary development in the like crypto space, because it could get rid of some of the like transaction time issues that we're seeing. So as I mentioned, this is a really interesting update that we're seeing in the system. So I figure it's worthwhile to keep up to date on what they're doing and some of the new developments in the ecosystem. So I wanted to check out the price chart before we move into some further updates within the Caspa ecosystem. So what we can see here through about the last 3 quarters of 2023 is we had an ascending wedge, and Caspa obviously, broke out of the ascending wedge and has now been trading essentially in what I would call a pretty clean, like upwards trending channel. So as we can see right now at the current price action, we're kind of sitting in the middle range of where this channel has been trading at, with the upper range being close to about 21 cents and the lower range being close to about 13 cents roughly. So overall, the price action on Caspa was actually looking really healthy long term. And this is something where I think it makes sense, with a lot of the developments and the, kind of the new type of system that we're seeing with a BlockDAG versus a blockchain. If the BlockDAG idea does end up working out, I mean, this could completely change, the ecosystem of crypto, which would be really, really interesting. And obviously this would be like the equivalent of getting into Bitcoin in like 2009, 2010. We'll see here in a second why I think that's the case. But overall, it's showing some really strong price action, at least this far. So moving on, I wanted to go over to this website. It's called Kaspa, and this is kind of like an overall informational hub, I would say, for the Kaspa ecosystem. So we can see, we've got the price of Kaspa here. We've got, like promoted services. Obviously, these are, people who've paid likely to be towards the top here. We can see, exchanges that support Kaspa. We can see the wallets, explorers, KRC20, which is essentially like the token version of Kaspa. So essentially KRC20 is to Kaspa what ERC20 is to Ethereum. So, there's some stuff there. We've got some bridges, and then also a whole bunch of different utilities that you can use to essentially kind of dive into the Kaspa ecosystem. So now obviously, socials, KRC20. Overall, as you can see, like this is a pretty comprehensive website that breaks down a lot of things here. One thing I want to focus on specifically is KRC20 tokens. This is something where, at least so far, we've only seen 7 of them. I don't think the ecosystem has maybe taken off as well as a lot of people may have been expecting. But, this next article we'll go into a little bit more as to why that might be. But at least from my perspective, this looks very much like we're sitting in like a research and development phase of Kaspa. A lot of the groundwork still does need to be laid, and I just don't think that the foundations are really here for a thriving like token ecosystem within the Kaspa network yet. However, that's not to say that it can't get there, but I just, this type of stuff, when we're developing essentially completely new technologies from the ground up, it takes some time. And, obviously one of the hardest things to do as a crypto investor, or as a crypto enthusiast for that matter, is to kind of hurry up and wait. That's something that it's definitely very hard to do, but that's also how a lot of people make money, right? Because most investors are impatient. Again, obviously this is not financial advice, but it is something that is generally a rule that holds true over time. So Anyway, now I want to get into kind of the big update that Caspa just released earlier today, actually. So let's go on ahead and move into that. Now, before we move into this last article, if you do enjoy the information that I'm providing, please like and subscribe. It really does help my channel grow and also get pushed further into the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you feel so inclined, please do leave me a comment. I really enjoy reading all the comments, and I do respond to all of them. So if you have any like further questions or anything you'd like me to help clarify based on maybe something that isn't making sense on one of these projects or a different project you'd like me to go into and cover, please do let me know, because I do read all my comments and I'll definitely take those under consideration. So moving back into this final article, what we can see is that they actually, just 5 hours ago, unveiled the Crescendo, which is what they're calling their new Caspa hard fork. Now, what they're doing, and the reason why they're doing a Caspa hard fork, is because they're actually getting a new improvement to the network, which is going to allow them to scale up to 10 blocks per second. Which now, if you're familiar with Bitcoin or Ethereum, obviously we're used to, 1 block every 10 minutes or 8 minutes or, whatever, depending on the system. Even with Solana, usually it's maybe a block per second, something like that, maybe a couple blocks per second. Well, these guys are doing 10 distinct blocks per second. And this is what's so interesting about the BlockDAG, is because when you have this type of technology, you don't run into the orphan block problem that happens with a lot of these blockchains. And that's actually one of the reasons why Solana has so many failed transactions, is because since their blockchain is moving so fast, and since it is indeed a chain, there's so many blocks that end up getting like mined, but actually don't actually ever like get added into the full chain, because they end up on that like orphan chain like phenomenon. So this is really interesting, because not only is it allowing for 10 blocks per second, but also the time to finality should actually be much shorter because of the lack of the like orphan block rule, right? So this is something where if you want to check this out and read this further, go to the Medium. They just posted like a Medium article. This is essentially from the Caspa team, and they unveil their plans of how they're going to get there. So we can see here's a general overview of kind of the timeline to get to the hard fork, and then obviously the support for it. But this is what I think a lot of Caspa users and Caspa enthusiasts, like, this is what they've been waiting for, right? This is the tech that we've been seeing and that they kind of have been promising in a sense. And it's been researched, and now it's time to develop it. And this is why I mentioned earlier that I don't necessarily get super concerned that the Caspa ecosystem doesn't really have much activity on it yet, because the way I look at this is Caspa is very much still like a research and development type of chain. None of the foundation has been laid that really would support an ecosystem like that. I do think if this Crescendo update does actually work out, I think we're going to see a lot of people have their eyes turned to Caspa, especially if the time to finality is super low, the fees are super low, the chain speed is really quick. Like, I mean, this essentially solves the like blockchain trilemma that Vitalik was referring to when he was discussing it in regards to Ethereum. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. Now that about does it for the video today. Now obviously nothing I say in these videos is financial, investment, accounting, legal, any of that type of advice. Listening to YouTubers is a notoriously bad investment strategy. I try and bring you a lot of these current updates that we're seeing within the market, but ultimately, you're the one who needs to go and figure out if this is something that works for you. As I have mentioned, multiple times, and as we just went over in the previous article, Caspa is something that could realistically turn into a next type of Bitcoin, right? But there's a lot that needs to happen for that to get there. So, obviously, it's a very high risk, potentially very high reward, type of investment. You need to figure out if that works for you. Also, if you do enjoy the information that I do provide in my videos and these updates that I go over, please do like and also subscribe. It does help my channel grow, and it also helps me reach more users. So, more people can see a lot of these updates that we're going over. So anyway, that's all for today. We'll see you in the next video.